Okay, Scorpio, as the leaves are falling and we're going through the seasons of change, there's a lot of change going on in your reading, but it looks like you're handling it really well and with a vulnerable aspect that's quite delicious. So we're going to talk about it. Stay tuned. Hey Scorpio, time to do your reading. This is for love and relationships because we already did your general and now we're doing the love and relationships for October. Now within this, it doesn't have to be romantic. Could be. If romantic stuff shows up, then we'll talk about it. Otherwise, it's just about the love within your relationships. So we'll see. But of course, I only talk about what shows up in the cards. And that's all I can really do, because that's what my job is. So let's see what's going on in your cards. Hope you're having a good October. Wondering how you're handling the eclipses. We already went through the solar Libra sun eclipse. Now we're in the middle, which has a lot of Scorpio energy, but you can handle that. The other signs are not having as good of time. It's a little bit much energy for them. It's not what they're used to handling. You are used to handling that sort of high-pitched energy for change. But they're not. But then we come into Taurus for the lunar eclipse. And that'll be interesting to see how everybody comes to terms with the stability of final decisions and closures by the end of that. All right, Scorpio, give me a moment. I'm going to straighten these and I'll be right back. Okay, Scorpio, so let's go through these. Very, very interesting, I must say. Okay, so we've got a little star that wanted to join us, and then also Tinkerbell right here, who is kind of almost sitting on the cards, but she's going to stay out of the way for now, I guess. Here's what's interesting. You have a lot going on here, and it seems that you're actually handling it really well. Even though the thing that struck me very interesting about you, Scorpio, is that you're sitting vulnerable right now within your past and with your going into the future. Your strength card, you have two strength cards, and they're both upside down, but it's coming through as just a natural vulnerability that you're willing to go to. And the reason why I say that is because you have the Wheel of Fortune right side up next to it, so it's a choice to be vulnerable. And then you also have down here, this is so funny, and I'm like, yeah, only Scorpio. You have the Sun card. Let me show you. You have the Sun card that is like coupled with the Tower card. And what I love about that is that's like when something in your life can go boom or end or just kind of be destroyed, and you're kind of like, good. Oh my God. Within all the energies of what's going on with everybody right now, that's the first I've seen of that. And I'm like, yeah, only Scorpio could do that. It's almost like something kind of major came and went like, and you were like, I need it anyway. It's fine. And good attitude, great attitude. You're like, I'll deal with it. It's all good. And I'm not quite sure, but I think it might be to do with levels of communication with relationships. And let me explain this. So one thing the cards down here talk of, they talk of a decision or a relationship that needed to kind of take time or space or move apart. So within one of your relationships. And I don't think you're really minding it, because in the middle section here, the one thing that it's talking about is there's a whole bunch of swords cards, okay? And right in the middle, there's an offering of the Page of Cups. So the offering of a level of a type of an emotional offering. And here's what we get within that. It's kind of like when you see the Ace of Swords here, okay? And the Ace of Swords, when it comes in like this, is saying, I'd like to offer some truths. And I like this truth and I want to offer it. But the thing that's kind of interesting about it is whoever got this truth, this wasn't exactly well received. We've got the 5, okay, the 5 of Swords. And what you see is when people have like disagreements, arguments, and the 5s always turn up the volume. It's the intensity of it. And whether someone's right or wrong, a lot of times people lose. Well, there's somebody in the scenario that didn't quite like hearing the truth. But it's interesting because it's almost as if the offering was an offering of love. It's like you tell somebody, I'm going to tell them the truth so that they understand, and that's because I really care about them. But it's not really taken that way. And so it's kind of like a love offering that goes one way but not back the same. It's a one-way street. And I'm like, this had to do with like truthful words that weren't taken very well. And that's possible. That's possible with Scorpio, because sometimes you want to be blunt and you're going to say it like it is. And especially when it's coming from the mind and the mouth, which is swords. The King of Swords here it can cut like a knife. And your words might have been taken more cutting, or maybe you're the one that received something like that. It's more apt that a Scorpio could be misunderstood, and you being very direct with the information that you have and giving it was not received necessarily real well. So it kind of makes me chuckle, and I'm like, that's interesting. How did that go down? In any case, you're willing to be with the Strength card upside down and vulnerable, but it's in your Wheel of Fortune. It's in your fate that you're going through this right now, and you're supposed to be going through this. And one thing that's going to happen is in the future, within being vulnerable, there's levels of judgment that happen, but it's kind of like within that you can hear a calling and a second chance to hear a calling of information that I think that you actually could understand it. Within the levels of judgment, there's an offering there. And because of your vulnerability and being willing to sit in that, you're going to get the information. You're going to get a deeper level of what some people would normally view as rejection. You'll see a magic gem in there and have an understanding of things. Like this right now within the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. The Libra solar eclipse, right? So relationships, balance, negotiations within partnerships, relationships, mirroring, and what's working, what's not working. And then you have the lunar eclipse, which is the Taurus, which deals with, simplifies things more, and deals with foundational and survival and the base levels. Now, in between there, we have a whole bunch of Scorpio energy that a lot of people are not handling well. And it looks like you are willing to be vulnerable right now. And some things that aren't necessarily, some things are blowing up or not working out, you're like, that's fine. Just like Scorpio fashion, you can handle it and be like, okay, let's move forward, which is utterly fascinating. It doesn't surprise me though. One thing within your environment, it does talk about your being realistic about some of your things that you're trying to manifest, your endeavors and your relationships and your long term. You're being realistic about that. Maybe that's why some of this stuff hasn't affected you as hard as some of the other signs. You guys can be all or nothing. And you might be going, okay, nothing. Especially if someone gives you an ultimatum. That's not a good idea for the Scorpio. Okay, so moving on within the hopes and fears, you're really contemplating the level of the give and take within your relationships. And you're having the hangman, which is assessing how that's working for you or not working for you within the give and take of your relationships. And yes, Tinkerbell. Okay, so then we also move up to the future lines, which are a little bit more, let's go overhead while Tinkerbell's sitting up, which is a little bit more interesting, and I'm a little confounded in some of this area over here. It says in the far future, there are going to be some feminine energies of people that one is a very deep feeling person that's going to be able to be in reflection to see about another person that is going to feel out of sorts within kind of being sad and a possible feeling of feeling rejected. And I'm wondering how this is all gonna go down. And I don't completely understand what these are actually going after. You possibly will as we come into the future. And sometimes with the cards, a lot of times I can understand, every once in a while something that comes across and I don't know what that means. But there's two females. One sitting in her feeling emotions and able to go into the hermit and really contemplate everything. And the other is not handling rejection, is what it says. Not handling rejection well with something that was said to her. And she's more of kind of an earth sign. And the Queen of Pentacles usually is kind of a nurturer. But I don't know why, I have no idea on this one of why she's not able to accept certain rejection. I don't know if it's with you, if you're giving this information or you're receiving. I could be reading it wrong. I could be reading that you're the one having levels of like truce and rejection that you're not liking. But I just know that Scorpio can handle so much. And especially this is your time. Within this energy between the eclipses, there's a lot of Scorpio energy. This is energy that you more so can understand because you can be hungry for the information, get what you need. There's a lot of vulnerability within yourself and other people right now, but that gives incredible amounts of information. It's harder for people, Gesundheit, Tinkerbell. Gesundheit. It's harder for people to not show what's truly going on with them right now. And you can gather that information. You can see what's really going on with people right now if you're able to pay attention and not be so caught up in yourself, which a lot of people are. I mean, I don't fault anybody for where they're at. It's just some people can handle it better than others. Now, one thing about you within, it is talking a little about too, is that within your actions, within your foundational relationships, you are watching people be a little bit chaotic within making choices and actions, and you're able to observe it. So I mean, this is interesting. This is interesting within your relationships. Tinkerbell, what are you doing? Take a seat. She's really restless right now. Earlier she kept doing her figure eights and just would not lay down. So anyway, let's take just a moment. I'll come right back with the wrap up. Just a quick reminder to check out your sun, moon, and rising signs. This will give you a feel for which energetic you're possibly experiencing right now. And if you would like a detailed personal reading, you can book a reading at ctgtarot.com. And thank you for subscribing and clicking the like button. The kitties and I are very grateful. Okay, Scorpio, so the key elements in your wrap up is you're being able to sit comfortably within your vulnerability, or handle it, that is. And really, that's actually a very powerful place to be, because it does show your deepest essence and your core when you're vulnerable. And like when you have an acting class and you see someone who's able to truly go vulnerable in a scene, it's so delicious and one of the most amazing things you can watch if someone's willing to do it. So I'm really excited for you right now with you willing to go into your levels of vulnerability to find the information and go deep. That's Scorpio does it. Scorpio can do it, can go deep, deeper than anybody. And the one thing that's talking about is within some of your relationships right now, there's words of truth that are being said, not going over real well, because maybe sometimes we don't want to hear the truth, but they're offered in meanings of love. Like, I'm going to tell you the truth because I love you. You may not like it, but I'm going to give you the truth. And it's low level. It's low level energy. It's not like someone's like hugely upset by it, but they needed to hear the truth. And there's a relationship down here that you do have a relationship that is moving apart, okay? And there's also here within your attitude, there's some things in your life that are like kind of some things that have come up that have challenges that have either exploded some things or or surprises that happened. And you have the best attitude. Like you're like, all right, good. I'm in awe of that. Good for you and handling it. You're right in your element right now. You also being realistic about your goals of manifesting in your lineage and your projects that you're trying to put together and your relationships with people. You're being very realistic. You're going to be coming into still deciding to be allowing yourself to be vulnerable. It's your way of giving too. Is Scorpio's way of giving is allowing themselves to be vulnerable. And because a lot of times, sometimes like you can go into paranoid but I'm not feeling that. Like this is like you're willing to sit in it and offer your truths within your vulnerability. And within that, you're going to be gathering information within the judgment card. There's going to things that could feel like judgment to others, but you're not going to see it as judgment. You're going to see it as information, and you're going to get the calling that gives you the information of what you need to do with that and where you're going to go with it. It's great. You're really going to utilize this time of being vulnerable and also be able to see other people's vulnerability. Lots of information in that. Lots of information. You're looking over your relationships right now and really having the hangman within your hopes and fears of really seeing the give and take within your relationships and how that is flowing and benefiting both sides, you and them, and how well that's working out for you. Fascinating. There is some stuff in the future that you're going to have to figure out and work out. There are some female energies of a Queen of Pentacles, a feminine energy that is knocked a little off because she has a sort of like a judgment or rejection. And then there's a very feeling Queen of Cups that's upright in her feeling and is deep in the hermit of observation within her core and feeling. Right, so that's very intuitive. Very feeling, and she's able to observe the level of this other female that's gotten levels of rejection, and it's just a happening that's coming up in the future. I don't know what you're going to want to do because you're really interested right now in vulnerability in yourself and others, so it'll be interesting to see what information you get from that. And there's a lot of people that you are noticing and watching that are a bit chaotic within their actions and watching some relationships fall apart, and well, but it's coming into its natural place of where it needs to be. It's like a natural falling apart within levels of chaos. It brings out the truths, and you're definitely willing to see everything right now and work with it, to see the light in it, and a lot of the things that are affecting other people, it's like you're using it to your advantage for the information, because you are someone who does, like a Sherlock Holmes, it's looking for the truth and looking for the real information. That comes from vulnerability. Is one of the most amazing truth tellers of all, is when people are very vulnerable and what you find out. So utilize it. Good for you. Good for you. I hope you get a lot of information, and it helps you to really figure out your relationships of your give and take, and the natural course of that, and what you want that to look like for your future. So that's a lot of the energies right now that's happening within the eclipses right now, right in the middle section. And right in the middle section of these eclipses has a lot of Saturn and Scorpio energy that people are having to go through. And you are taking advantage of that in a good way, in a really good way. So Scorpio, keep it up, keep going. Get it all and utilize it. All right, sounds good. Talk to you soon. Mush mush.